Big Orlando Shepard. It's been a long time, man. We've talked about doing this. And by the way, you're the first person I've done it with on a virtual aspect. It's always been face to face for me, but for you and I, because we had trouble linking up, this is the first time I've done it like this. So it's Zoom.
Right, right.
Yeah. Per your request, because you didn't want to sit next to somebody as big and masculine as I figured that tonight I can get away with saying things that I couldn't say in front of you. What's going on? How are you?
Good, man. I couldn't be better.
Yeah.
Things are going good. I can't complain at all.
Well, you and I have a long history. We've known each other, I would say 15 or 16 years when we were both at Paris Island at two different positions, but both at 3rd Battalion. And then obviously you and I worked in the UAE for many years together. And what most people might not know is we were contractors training soldiers, and you and I were on the same team together for years, and we hung out and did things together off work and then things together at work. So you and I know each other pretty well. So I'm happy to have you on this because you have a very vast knowledge of so many things, especially with bodybuilding and physicality and strength. And I really want to touch on that, but I do want to talk to you about your Marine Corps career. So if you can start off with telling me, what was it like for you as a young man in high school in Texas? What pursued or tempted you to the Marine Corps?
Oh man, it was luck. I had no aspirations on, joining the military whatsoever. I just happened to see a guy in dress blues. And I was like, hey man, that's a nice uniform. And he was like, oh yeah, well come follow me. Like an idiot, I jumped in the car and and signed on the dotted line. That's just pretty much how it went. And then I got to meeting all these people that were like, their family lineage was the Marine Corps, and I was like, that's when I realized I was a part of something great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you have a choice on where you went to boot camp?
No, I didn't even know where the boot camp was until they told me. So they told me San Diego, so I was like, okay, I guess this is the only boot camp.
Okay, good. Now you've always been in shape from what I can tell from your pictures, even when you were young, physical. Right. And obviously you put on a lot more size as the years went on, but were you like an athlete, a natural athlete, or were you in sports before you joined the Marine Corps?
I dibble and dabble in sports. I wasn't back then. I wasn't very much a team player. But I tried. I tried. Sports, but it just didn't. I don't know. It just wasn't for me at the time.
What'd you play?
So I played football for maybe I think my freshman and sophomore year. And I tried out for the basketball team once. Didn't even come close to making it.
Really?
Yeah, man, that was it.
How about track and field? Did you do anything in that, like shot put or discus?
Nothing, man.
No.
Nothing.
Well, I've watched you turn yourself into this like bodybuilder that you competed. I went to some of your competitions in Dubai, and 300 pounds. I think you even went over 300 pounds when you were at your heaviest. And then when they had the bodybuilding show in Dubai, I remember former Mr. Olympia, Jay Cutler, you met him in person and you took a photo with him. Now, granted, he wasn't in his heaviest when you saw him, but he was still in great shape, and you just towered above him, and you were so much bigger than him. And you've done so much hard work. And I think people don't give you enough credit. They know you probably work hard, but they think that you've taken shortcuts like most bodybuilders. Does that upset you?
What's to say it again?
That upset you when people
not at all, because it would take for them to go through it to understand it. It would take for them to go through the pain of the workouts, the pain of eating, when you don't want to eat. You have to go through it to understand it, and there's no shortcuts. That's the only way that you can do it. No matter what.
Right.
You have to train hard. You have to eat, solid meals, square. Most people can't do that. If you ask a person, what do they eat today? They might say maybe two meals, but the rest is just off junk and snacks and
Well, I mean, you had a family as well. And then we worked as contractors in the heat of the desert in the summertime, and you were at your heaviest. And I watched you, you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, make a dozen eggs, your sweet potatoes, have it in a plate while you drove an hour to work and eat it on the way. Then you carried a bag with all of your meals throughout the day that you cooked that morning or the night before. And then you ate throughout the day and you never missed it. You carried it everywhere you went. You did your work. Then you hit the gym. And it's definitely inspiring. And I know it's tough and it's such a dedication. And I know you're not competing now, but one thing that sticks out to me is that even though you might not be competing now, man, you just have not given up that energy and that intensity. And I think bodybuilding will always be part of your life.
Yeah, man. To me, it goes hand in hand in everything that I do, especially in the executive protection world. Strength goes hand in hand. Physical fitness goes hand in hand with tactics. It all ties into one each other. Self-defense.
Right.
Got to be fit to do a lot of this stuff. You got to practice it over and over, and you got to be strong enough to do it, basically.
So with what you're doing now with executive protection, for those watching maybe that don't know you well, what was your occupational specialty in the Marine Corps?
So I started out as motor T.
I just wanted you to say that out loud. Okay. You fell right for that. My shoulders look small on this screen. I don't know what's going on. Maybe you need to, maybe I get closer like you. But no, okay. All joking aside, one thing that you squashed as far as like people generalizing bodybuilders, and I witnessed this again firsthand from you, is your athletic ability, even when you were at your heaviest to when you were lean as a bodybuilder. And what was your weight when you were at your competitions that you got really lean? What were you on stage?
So on stage, I got to about 240, 250 on stage.
And you're 6 foot, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, big guy. And I remember, and you know what I'm going to talk about. We were out in the middle of a training evolution in the desert, and we had an interpreter from Jordan who called you out, said he wanted to sprint against you and race you. And you were heavy. You were bigger than 250. You were like your heavy stage.
Yeah.
And you raced him, and you looked like Earl Campbell out there, man. And you smoke checked him, man. And he ate his words. And just watching you do things that I saw you do physically and your flexibility, it was definitely impressive. I mean, I'm a guy that comes from a very fit background, and I don't consider myself necessarily a gifted athlete. I'm athletic in certain things, but I'm more physical. And so watching you do some things, man, just really was all inspiring. And you continue to be that way. And, when I went to your show and just seeing how you train, it's pretty impressive. And, I know you're doing what you do now with executive protection, but there's so many people that probably ask you that never have an aspiration to bodybuild, but they want to get fit and maybe do something for the first time. What's your recommendation for a man or a woman that wants to just get in shape or maybe tone up, but they don't want to compete? What would you have them do first?
I mean, the first thing I would have them do is first, I'll, do an assessment to see, how strong they are and, see where they're at physically. And from there, depending on their body type, usually cardio is the first thing I'll start with, because most people don't do it. And not only for fat burning reasons, but for health reasons also. You need that cardio for your heart.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people just don't do it. So that's where I'll start. And like I said, depending on the body type, it will depend on how aggressive I'll be with the weights and with the strength training.
Yeah. When I trained a few people, years ago, one of the assessments I did, because I've always believed in like a functional fitness, not just strength training, is I would have someone lay down completely flat on their back, arms and legs pinned down. And then I would just say, get up. And I would have them do that like 4 times. And if I could video it, I'd video it. And I'd show them where their weaknesses were when they were trying to get off the ground. That's simple. Then flip back over like in a push-up position with your arms out. Now get off the ground. Now get off the ground without putting your knee down. And that would be kind of my assessment. And I know that you train that way too, even though you bodybuild. I know functional fitness is important to you because like what you said, what you do now for a living.
Man, especially now more than ever.
Yeah. What kind of examples do you have with what you've done that require your physical ability and agility with your size?
Jumping in and out of cars, over cars, under cars, a lot of CQB around cars, because, 9 times out of 10, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen around the car.
Yeah. Man, look at your shoulders, man. I'm jealous.
It's an illusion.
No, I know that's not true. That's one thing about you, man. If somebody saw a picture of you, they would be intimidated just because of how big and you have that very strong just demeanor that just exudes from who you are. But you're a humble guy, man. I don't think I've ever seen you really lose your cool other than it being warranted in our job where you were required to be aggressive to get a reaction out of someone.
Right.
But I don't think I've ever seen you lose your cool. You're very calm. Actually, there was one time, and it was because of a whole cultural thing with a guy touching your face, and you said, "You know what I'm talking about." You tell him if he does it again, I'm gonna punch him right in the face, and everyone. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anyone in a group just completely calm down like that. That was a whole episode. But you got to tell the story. This is one of my favorite stories, and if you don't want to tell it, I got it. When there was a gentleman in his big SUV driving through the UAE in a roundabout, and you were, I think, in a rental car, small, and he got out of his car because of maybe you cutting him off, and he had no clue who was in the car driving. He thought he was going to go over there and be like, "Get out of the car."
Yeah.
Tell the story. Tell the story. I love this.
So we're coming out of roundabout, and he blocks me off, and he stops the car. And he like slams on his brakes. And so I'm sitting there, and I seen his door open. As soon as I seen his door open, then I hopped out. And as soon as he seen me, he immediately hopped back in his car. And he rolled his window down like this far to make sure I didn't get through this crack. He made sure it was only this much.
Get back in your car. Like calmly, right? Get back in your car. I can imagine what he must have thought, because of all the people in the world, he didn't expect a guy like you to step out calmly and be like, "Get back in your car."
He had no idea.
So, being around you in Dubai, you were a celebrity. Everywhere you went, people saw how big you were and how conditioned you were, and they wanted to take photos and ask you questions. I mean, you were literally a celebrity, and you were always kind and never shooting anybody away or told them no. Did it ever bother you? Did it ever get on your nerves?
No, it didn't. Because I looked at it as a gift, and I didn't want to be the guy to abuse it.
Right.
So and then plus, I like being something people aspire to be like, something people look up to. So I had no reason to show anybody a way or be upset.
Right. I remember you and I went to a steakhouse, and everyone was crowding around you while we were sitting down, asking you about your workout. There must have been like 15 waiters asking you about your routine. You remember this? And none of them looked at me at all. And then one guy looks at me and he goes, "Oh, you're in shape too." And I go, "I'm his trainer." And once I said that, they gave me attention. So I said, "Now I know what I have to say, that I train you." And it's when we were at work one time, you were wearing a tight t-shirt, and we had all these VIPs come over, and we were standing in line as a team. And I remember they all kept looking at you, even though they're standing in front of me to shake my hand and ask me questions before they got to you. You remember this? And
vaguely.
They kept looking at you, and I looked at you, and I tell him what to do. When the general asked me, "What's your job?" I said, "I tell him what to do." Everybody thought, remember you saying that. Yeah. Everyone thought that was pretty funny. Of course, I'm like, "Hey, man, I just had to do that to get an edge up there." Yeah. When you were in the Corps, you were still a pretty big boy. I mean, obviously you aren't as big as you are now. Over the last maybe 10 years, but
Right.
did you have trouble with like obstacle courses or running even when you were a big guy?
Running was a little bit harder, but like obstacle courses, anything quick, bursts of speed, perfect. All day, I'm good.
Yeah.
But that 3 mile, it hurt every time I did it. The heavier I got, it definitely.
Yeah. So the executive protection that you're doing now, how did you get into that?
So, well, in Dubai, I flirted with it a little bit while I was out there. Kind of talked to a few people, and they told me about the idea. But once I got back, I worked corrections for a while.
Yep, that's right.
And then it's just I went to LA to go train with some guys, and that's when I really got introduced to it.
Right.
They really turned me on to that lifestyle, which is one not talked about very much, but it's very interesting. It's a very boring, exciting job, if that makes sense.
I do. I understand for sure. I get it because there's a lot of lag time probably, but the excitement of what actually takes place when you need to be on your game or your preparation is probably very exciting.
Right. And a lot of times you're just waiting. But at the same time, there's some times where, it's a little exciting at certain times, but for the most part, you're like a waiter, pretty much. Not a waiter, but you're waiting on somebody constantly. You're always waiting for the person to make a decision, so you can plan.
Right.
So
you're kind of tailor made for that. Some of the things that you've done in your background it helps you out immensely for it.
You know what helped me out the most, like a lot of tactics and training that I've done, and being in situations overseas. Being in a combat environment, of course, that gets you ready.
Right.
But being on the drill field is like similar because everything is on the go, and that's where my mind goes back to. Okay, I've been here before. Okay, this is what I did in the situation. Right. So I found myself going back to things I did early in my Marine Corps career, and it helps me get through a lot of things out in the civilian world.
And you're, like I said earlier, you're a very calm, reserved individual in a way where you're focused. And whether it's your bodybuilding career or even your time as a drill instructor, where there's times you have to focus and then, put on the stress when you need to put it on, you're very reserved. So I think that helps you a lot with your planning and the waiting around time, I assume. I mean, just knowing who you are. Right. A lot of people don't know this, man, but you got blown up in Iraq.
Yeah.
And, you've never used it as an excuse, even though you were injured and the things that you had to do to recover, and I find that to be extraordinary too. And I'm not trying to say that people use that as an excuse not to recover and move forward, but you surely are like the beacon of inspiration for people that have been wounded, man, just knowing who you are. And you don't talk about it. It's kind of like I found out about it just by accident because I started asking you questions one day.
Right.
So I think that's incredible.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't talk about a lot of things that happen over there. I don't know. I mean,
I get it.
Usually if I'm around somebody that was there around the same time out there, maybe we'll chit chat a little bit. But as far as just stories, a lot of things I just try to forget.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So what's your favorite cheat meal? Let me ask you that.
Cheat meal, man. Well, lately I've kind of been on and off my diet, not too strict, but cheat meal is usually pizza, but it's got to be a good pizza though. It can't be like a Domino's Pizza Hut.
No. Yeah. It's like Chicago deep dish or New York thin crust.
Which
Texas
one's more
toast.
authentic.
Some Texas toast.
Whichever one is more authentic, that's the one I'll eat. I like authentic pizza.
Not a big sweet tooth guy. Are you a big sweet tooth guy?
Nah, not too much.
No.
More food. Not a big dessert guy. You know, I'll try, cake here and there. You know, I might eat a small slice, but nothing I'll go crazy over.
Yeah. I remember when we would have a lot of our locals when we worked overseas bring different dishes, and you were like strict on your diet. You would just pick the meat out and you would just walk around and eat that meat, trying to be polite to them, but at the same time not deviate from your diet. That had to be tough, man.
Yeah, man, it's tough, but at that point you're pretty much eating for results. You're not even eating for taste, or at that point it's all for results. So
yeah,
and that's what you eat. You eat and you think about what are you gonna look the next morning, how you gonna look the next morning when you look in the mirror, because your body changed
constantly. I remember, you're obviously well versed in this because you put yourself through the test so many times. And in my background, I love bodybuilding. I was involved in it. I've always been involved with some kind of fitness or bodybuilding. But the diet, even though I did it at times, I just never could do it to the level of competition. I lost interest in it. But you, man, are so dedicated to it. And I remember, we used to joke about this, but you were so serious. And like you said earlier on about people not wanting to eat, you're like, hey, man, if you want to get big, you have to eat big. That means eat when you don't want to eat. You've got to force yourself like another rep to eat more.
Right.
Not, hey, I'm full, I'm content, I'm good. And that's a hard thing to do, man. Right?
It is. It's definitely a hard thing to do. So when people say, oh, I could, I eat, usually they don't. It's you tell people to write down they eat is like maybe 3 things, like I said earlier. But yeah, man, you have to eat, and I tell guys this all the time. That's the first question they ask, man. How? And they look at me crazy when I tell them food. I don't know what else to say. You have to eat, no matter what supplement you find, no matter what. It's the food that's gonna make you grow.
Who's your favorite bodybuilder, or the bodybuilder that inspired you the most, I guess?
Ronnie Coleman and Marcus Rule.
Okay.
I was in the PX. I remember this like this was yesterday. I was in the PX in Courthouse Bay. And this is when, people really looked at magazines. So I'm in the PX and I'm looking through this magazine, and I see his picture of Ronnie Coleman. And I was like, I'm not going to stop until I look like that. I'm not going to compete until, and I said it, and I just kept it in my mind, all these years. I always kept that in the back of my mind. So once I told myself that, I started buying these muscular development magazines.
Yeah.
I started looking in these magazines, and I seen Marcus Rule, and he just looked so freakish. And I was like, that's what I want. I want to look like that. Right. Yeah, it was just insane.
Ronnie Coleman, man. I mean, the king, he's from Louisiana.
Yeah, Monroe.
That's right.
It might as well be Shreveport.
That's right, exactly. He's funny too. He's got a great sense of humor. It's unfortunate things that have happened to him, but I saw. Did you see his documentary that maybe came out about 2 years ago, and showing him how he's had so many surgeries and he's on the road to recovery?
No, I didn't see that one. I hate.
It's hard to watch, right? Yeah. I have this. There was one. He made me laugh. He's got a great sense of humor where he showed a statue that was literally a statue of a jaguar, a cat, right? And he said, when I won this thing, I was on the stage, and they said, you just won a new Jaguar. He said he thought he won a car, and they pulled out this stupid statue of a cat. I don't know, just the way he said it, I was cracking up. It's just funny. So I love Ronnie Coleman as well. And Dorian Yates in the 90s, being deployed in the magazines, like you said, he was another one because he was quiet about his training. He just showed up, and there he was.
Absolutely, Dorian Yates. Yeah.
And of course, Arnold and all the golden era guys, but Lee Haney, phenomenal. Right. do you like bodybuilding today? That's a common question for people. Like, do you think bodybuilding is going in the right direction, or do you think it's not?
Bodybuilding is gonna go where bodybuilding is liked, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So bodybuilding is what people want to see. So people are really vocal about if a bodybuilder is too small or is, not enough, not enough fat. He's got too much fat. He's got too much fat, or he's not lean enough. People are very vocal about that. So, and then once they voice their opinion, the athletes they're gonna listen.
Right.
So, so right now I think it's going in a direction where people want it to go.
Let me ask you this before you make that point. Tell me if you disagree with me on this. And I loved bodybuilding, still do. The last 10 years, I've kind of thought bodybuilding is not a sport. I look at it more like an art. So when people say it's a great sport, I have a hard time accepting it as a sport. An art, yes, but I've had some arguments with some people about this that didn't like my interpretation of it. How about you?
No, I mean, yeah, everybody has their own opinion. I mean, I see your side of it, and I understand it.
Man, you're so likable, dude. What is up with that?
I'm running for president soon.
so not fair, man.
But I mean, you made me forget what I was gonna say.
Maybe you're not that likable now. We're talking about my opinion about sport and.
Oh yeah, so what a sport is more like, there's actually an end and a start, basically, with a sport, and it's like a race. There's a start time and a start and a finish. Bodybuilding is more like a beauty pageant, to be honest.
Right. That's.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't take away from the hard work and the dedication and the sacrifice. Not at all. Right.
Not at all. But I mean, you got to think, the same thing that goes on behind the curtains of the beauty pageant is the same thing that goes on behind the curtains of the bodybuilding competition. Well, I
don't know. Do you want to disclose anything that happened to you behind the stage?
But no, man, with bodybuilding, there's a lot of tanning and, stuff you got to do.
Do you remember when I went to one of your shows in Dubai and yelled it for you and cheered? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I was the only one from work that went. I just wanted to point that out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Everyone, yeah, man, I'll be there. Nah. I was like, Orlando. I was like yelling. I think I even said hoorah. That hadn't come out in a long time, and it just slipped.
That's all right. Nobody else knew what it meant. Nobody else had no idea.
You know what I did notice behind the scenes, because I went backstage while you were getting ready, and not just tanning and pumping up, but everybody was carrying around like little thin flank steaks and eating it.
Yeah.
Whoa. Does that make you pop? I mean, what's that about?
Backstage, everybody has these little secrets that they think that's going to work for them right before they get on stage. You'll see Rice Krispie treats, you'll see bagels, peanut butter and jelly, rice cakes, burgers. But it works for some people. Some people don't. Some people don't. I ate a burrito, and it made everything pop. Just a mixture of all the fat that my body hasn't been getting for weeks and months.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you get it in such an overload, your body reacts.
Did you have one valuable lesson you've learned from bodybuilding? Does anything stick out? Like one valuable lesson that would maybe transition to anything you do in life?
Yeah.
What is it?
No matter how hard it is or how painful it is, you'll get over it. You'll get over it.
Sounds kind of Marine Corps in a way too, right?
Yeah, you're right. But
yeah,
that's because I've had some painful days. Not to compare it to anything that anything serious, but man, I've pulled up in the gym parking lot and I sit there and I thought to myself, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this pain?
Right.
Because it hurts so bad.
And I think what people don't see, if they aren't really involved in it or know someone that is competing, how taxing it is on your family.
Right. Because you have to be a selfish person. You have to be the most selfish person in the room because everything revolves around you, your food, and your training. So, and I commend people that can do it with families. Also, I got a good buddy who just went pro, and he's got a newborn, and man, he's good at what he does. His wife supports him; she competes also, and I'm just amazed about how they can, juggle a kid and both still go to the gym and compete. That's now, yeah. So it's some amazing people that make it happen.
As an adult, what's the lightest you've weighed? Like Marine Corps boot camp type weight?
I don't think I've been under 200 pounds. Well, I'll say I don't think I've been under 250 since my last competition.
What year was that?
2017.
What did you weigh? Let's say when you went to boot camp, what was like?
I was like 180, 170, 180. Yeah.
And the heaviest you've been is 3+, wasn't it?
Yeah, like 310, 315.
Wow. I remember you came to work and I remember you were telling me I got on the scale today and I weighed 302, 304. And,
Yeah.
Man, that was, you were just
eating
and heavy training. I always ask you about injury and you always tell me you haven't had anything serious, but I know you have some nicks and knacks and bruises here and there, that type of thing. You push through it or you work around it, but any serious injuries?
No, man. Luckily, no serious injuries. And I can't say it's because I take fish oil or any kind of joint medication because it's not. I just I'm real careful about what I do. I don't do any jerking or
Are you sure about that?
Positive.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't do nothing that's going to cause an injury in the gym. I'm very careful. I make sure I recruit muscles before, I start adding weight. And that's one thing I learned from bodybuilding that's really important is, tax the muscle, don't tax the joints.
Yeah. Okay.
Because, muscles and don't tax the joints and tendons because muscles are meant to be torn and they're meant to be grown back stronger. But that tendon and those bones,
right,
take a while.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you told me one time, right? And you read this in magazines all the time that bodybuilders will tell you you're one injury away from losing your career, right? I mean, it's that simple. I guess any athlete, in a sport like that, even though I said it's an art, it's a sport. Most consider that. Yeah, that's got to be a stressful thing. And the anatomy and the kinesiology and the sports medicine that you see bodybuilders over the last 20 years learning about, as opposed to maybe 40 and 50 years ago, they didn't really have an understanding of the science of the body as much. Maybe a little bit of nutrition and just heavy weights, and it's much smarter nowadays.
Right. It is. It's broken down to a science, but people still can't get it right. So,
you're right. And the thing that, again, impresses me about you is, and I've tried to live like this too, is how old are you now?
38.
38. As we get older, I know I never want to lose being in fitness somehow, whether it's the weight room or cardio or outdoors in the mountains or anything that's physical and weight training. And unfortunately, you have injuries that can prevent you from doing it. But we see so many people that lose their motivation. So simple, where they go on vacation and they don't train at all because they can't get motivated. And when they come back, it takes them a while to get motivated again. Where I know I'm like this, and I know you're like this, where when you're on vacation, you still train because it's like brushing your teeth.
Right.
With the exception of maybe you go, you know what, I need to take off 1 month to let my body heal, which is a planned
Right.
time off, not because you're not motivated. And I think that's probably the hardest thing I've seen with people, that they can start and maybe do it a little while, and then when they stop, they just don't pick it back up for a long time. It's a habit for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Through the whole pandemic, all weights,
Yeah.
but
What did you do, man? What did you do during the pandemic? Did you have a gym you had to go to?
so I had I ended up buying some weights. So I had a few weights that I've had around the house, and then I ended up buying me a bench and a squat rack and some bands, and I just went to work, man. I've been doing this for a while, so I can do a little with a lot.
That's right.
Or I can do a lot with a
little. Tomato.
Yeah. So
I'll edit that out, I promise.
All right. and I just focused, man. I just, and it made it easier since it's right there in my garage. Just got right up in the morning and went straight into it. And then I did have those days where I just didn't have it. Everybody has those days.
Sure.
And you have to find it. And I found it in listening to David Goggins.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll put a fire. He'll put a fire under you and get you going.
Did you ever listen to I know you probably listened to his book or read his book, but David Goggins was on the Joe Rogan podcast. Did you ever see him on that?
Yeah, I think I watched like a couple of clips of it.
It was great. And yeah, he's definitely an inspiration as well. And, been through a lot. He'll fire you up, man, no matter who you are, right?
Yeah, man.
And a man like,
especially, he told us a particular story about him running till he like shit all over himself, and I forget what it was, some kind of marathon, and he said he was more of a bodybuilder, but he decided to run this marathon, and he ended up just losing control of his bodily functions, and his feet was bleeding, and he kept going. And I just thought that was, one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. Like, just to keep going, and that's something that we adopt from being Marines.
Yeah.
Mission first. We get the mission done.
Like you said earlier, pushing through those pain barriers, and he lives it, and he's living proof. And one thing about him is that he talks all this stuff, but he backs it up. He shows it, and he's consistent with it. He's just not telling the story that happened 10 years ago, and then he's not that guy anymore. Yeah, he's an impressive guy. Like anyone that becomes famous or has a large audience, people criticize him and call him out. But I find that very unfortunate. There's always trolls, no matter what platform you're on, right?
Yeah, but you know when someone is genuine.
That's right.
You have a gut feeling or intuition.
That's right.
Somebody's being genuine. So
yeah,
he was a guy that I felt like was very genuine, and definitely lived what he talked about.
I agree with you 100%. So what's next on the agenda for you, man? Is this executive protection something that you're looking to stick with for a long term, or do you have anything going on behind the scenes that you're doing? Because you're kind of entrepreneurial. Every time I talk to you, you've always had some kind of vision about maybe a different direction you want to take a business into.
Right. So right now, what we have is the Tactical Training Company, which is Elevation Training Group. So we're looking to, our first course is going to be January. And so in that course, we go over active shooter, advanced CQB, everything that revolves around the EP world, what you should carry in a kit while you're on a detail, how to schedule a detail, how to manage a detail. And we just go into detail to explaining everything. And we have some companies that come in and interview the guys. And then the top guys will move on to so I got a security company also, which is Special Activity Security Group.
Okay.
We only do executive EP and high risk security. So, I'm only looking for, the top tier guys for that, which is Um, it can be pretty exciting at times. I know we had some phone calls during this whole thing that been going on up in Seattle, Washington. We had a team up there for that, protecting a few people, and so yeah, so that's what I got going on at the moment.
Okay, awesome. To wrap this up, let me ask you a few quick questions. Can you give me 3 of your top tips for encouraging people to be fit in their life, like making it a lifestyle? Do you have like top 3 tips?
Top 3 tips. Number 1, convenience. Don't do things out of convenience. Convenience is what kills us. It's convenient to go to the drive-thru. It's convenient to get a bag of chips. If it's convenient, don't do it. You got to do it the hard way or the planned way. You either, jump through hoops to get it, or you plan it out. And that's another thing. It forces people to have so I do a lot of executive protection consulting in people's houses. I go to their homes, show them how to clear their houses. And people don't like plans. They don't like having a plan. It's just, people like waking up and just arriving places hungry.
Yes.
But and that's one thing I've learned about the successful people that I follow. They're very regimented people.
Yeah.
Very, very regimented people. That's you have to be at a certain point,
That's right.
or all over the place.
Right.
But so to answer your question, number 1 would be convenience. Don't do things out of convenience. Number 2, I would say start with cardio. Always start with cardio, just to get the heart, get the heart healthy, get the heart in it.
Okay.
Start with cardio. Number 3, I would say. So number 1, convenience. That's goes along with the food also. Number 3, I would say, don't be afraid of weights. A lot of people are afraid of weights.
Yeah. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, don't be afraid of weights. A lot of women, especially. I don't want to look like a man.
It's so a misconception.
My favorite one is, I want to lift weights, but I don't want to look like you. It gets me every time. Like, look, lady, you weigh 135 pounds.
Right.
It's just.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Good tips. I appreciate that. So top 3 favorite movies. What do you got for me?
Top 3 favorite movies. All John Wicks.
Come on. Really? Too easy, man. I knew it. You just don't want to think about it.
No, okay. I would say John Wick. Nacho Libre.
Yeah, that's a hilarious movie. Yeah.
And Jack Black
It's great. Yep. Nacho Libre and John Wick. John Wick 1?
Any of them. Just pick one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last one, Coming to America.
Yeah. I didn't like the sequel very much. Did you see it?
No, I didn't want to see it.
Yeah, I get that.
But that one is a tie between that one and between that one and the one with him and Dan Aykroyd in it.
Yeah, Trading Places. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah. That's 4.
No, well.
That's 4. How about any books? Do you have any favorite books? Even one title that you read or listened to?
Yeah, man. I've actually been reading a couple I've been listening to. Man, I get so much out of the books when I listen to it versus if I read it. I'll get it, but
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I listened. It's very common for me to listen to an audiobook in the gym, not in music.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Empire of the Summer Moon is the last audiobook I listened to. about the Comanche Indians and how the Texas Rangers were developed. Phenomenal book. Brutal. A lot of historical facts, but it's a great book. All right.
Okay.
So do you have a title?
Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Yeah, that's a good book.
Yeah. And The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra.
Nice.
Yeah, those are the last two that I've really been paying a lot of attention to.
Great. What's your favorite cuss word?
Recruit.
Very good. I think that'll end the discussion. That was pretty good. That was pretty witty, pretty fast. I didn't think that was going to be the case. I thought you were going to hesitate. Yeah, not bad. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, look, brother, it's always good talking to you, man. I appreciate your time, and we could talk all night, obviously, but
yeah,
I'm glad we had a chance to talk about these topics. I've been wanting to do this with you for a long time, and you have a lot to say. You have a lot of stories that we didn't even touch. So
yeah, man. Yeah, a lot of them.
And I appreciate all the compliments you gave me during this. But it's not about me. This is about you. I wanted to hear your opinion. and talk about your life stories and things that make you tick and what you've been successful at. So I appreciate your time.
No, man, I definitely appreciate you reaching out. It means a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It definitely means a lot because I know you don't do this for everybody. So
yeah, that's right.
Now, so you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, much appreciated, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And until next time, don't be a stranger. We can do this anytime, you know.
Yeah.
Usually free during the evenings unless I'm going on a mission or something like that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I came to Texas hoping that we could see each other a week and a half ago, and then you ended up going to a different state when I came to Texas. So I'll hit you up when I come back to Texas, man. Look forward to seeing you. Tell the family hello for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, man. Peace out.
All right. Peace.
All right, man.